Well, one of the challenges that we have in Grenada is that 10% of our population that dies annually dies as a result of cancer and its complications. That's kind of high. Although what we find is that most people, in low and middle income countries, cancer tends to be cause of death more than a lot of other diseases. As a chronic disease, it falls among the chronic diseases because it would last for a long time, change your quality of life. You have to change your lifestyle to get control. It costs a lot of money to take care of, etc. And it can become complicated and lead to death. So various cancers do occur. There's some that we know more about than other, but there are lots of cancers that occur. So at the end of the day, if 10% of our people die, it must be something from one set of diseases. It must be something that we need to really focus on and to make sure that we can put into place whatever mitigating practices we can. Whether it is people changing lifestyles, whether it is that we ensure that we have early diagnosis, early detection, because people are going for screening, whether we have treatment facility, appropriate treatment facilities. So there's a lot of things that we have to look at because the whole issue of cancer comes from a long way. What predisposes us? How can we remove the predisposing factors? Do you smoke? Do you drink? Are you obese? A lot of other things. So things that we talk about as we go along. But because 10% of our population does die, and I'm not talking about who has cancer, I'm talking about who dies, it is in fact something that we ought to be careful about.
Right.
Besides,
yes.
There's a World Cancer Day, which is February 4th every year.
2 days from now. So Doc, throughout the month of February, we've dedicated this month and all our programs to focusing on this chronic condition. And we'll focus on different areas on different programs. Tonight, we're basically doing an overview of what is going to be happening, of course, over the next couple of weeks. And we'll touch a little bit about some of the main types of cancer we have. But before we get into our program per se, tell us a little bit about, I know we do have a guest from Jamaica that will be appearing on the program. We also will be having some survivors of cancer on the program as well.
Yes.
You've been basically spearheading this effort. So tell us a little bit about what we can expect over the next...
Well, this is a Cancer Society initiative, and we're collaborating with the Ministry of Health because, they really should spearhead things on a national level. However, the Cancer Society, because that is all we really look at, we're looking at having as much activities. The truth is that Cancer Awareness Month is really just practiced in Grenada. This is our thing. This is our way of reminding and creating awareness and reminding people, and encouraging people to move towards prevention and detection and to have treatment for long life. Like I said, it started with Cancer, World Cancer Day, started by the Union for International Cancer Control. And they had goals that they wanted to keep it. There was a Congress and decisions were made in 2008, and hopefully, so this time, just to make everybody remember, it comes under the theme I can and I will. Basically, taking responsibility. What will I do? What will I do in order to ensure that I figure it out? Okay, so under the theme I can and I will, this year we focus on for the rest of the month. We're taking about cancers in general, but we really want to focus on men's cancer, the most common form of cancer in men, which is prostate cancer. We know there's still a lot of conversion to occur, a lot of acceptance, to happen among the male of our species. Men are still very important. They still lead the economy. They're still ahead of households, regardless of how women are, but they have responsibilities. And we have to ensure that all men can live to fulfill those responsibilities and have a quality of life. And, there are all the taboos and all the reasons why men don't get screened. We really want to encourage them, and especially we want men to talk to their brethren and say, hey, let's do this. Let's get ready, let's look, let's check it out. Because, after you've examined once, people go back. It becomes like we're on a bicycle. Let's do this, So.
Right. So, Doc, let's just talk a little bit about the cancer itself and put into perspective the cancers. Now, we know it's a chronic condition. But for those of us who probably still don't understand what it is, let's just put that into context here.
So cancers are diseases, like I said, a different kind of cancer. You have a cancer in your eye. You can have 3 different kind of cancers in your eye. You can have several brain cancers. Some a little more lethal than others. You can have cancer in your heart tissue, not very often. Cancer in your stomach, in your bowel. Almost every organ and every tissue in your body can have cancers. You have skin cancers. We've seen that happen a lot of people. Lung cancers, which predominate in smokers. So what cancer really is an abnormal, crazy growth of cells of an organ. So you're born with a finite amount of cells, okay? The only thing that makes itself back in the human body, I think, is the liver.
Yes.
Right? So you're born with that finite amount of cells, and whatever dies is replaced. When you have cancer, whatever triggers off that recreation kind of over triggers, for want of a better word. And so instead of making like the 2 cells, it makes 20. And those 20 cells require a lot of food. And that's why people lose all the weight when they have cancers, because the energy that they consume to take care of their normal being, these rapidly multiplying cells, right? That's why you have tissue growing in all kind of crazy ways because of how rapidly they grow, right? And use up all the food. People lose weight as a result. So cancer basically is an abnormal growth, a crazy, wild growth of different tissues in your body.
Right. And what is responsible for that? What causes that? Because some people get it, some people don't.
Yeah, well, first of all, it happened because you probably you kind of switch on the light sometimes, and sometimes it come on, switch on the light, and sometimes it flickers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's think this: in the people who have cancer, you have a flicker. Something stupid happens. Whatever message your cells get, make them multiply more than normal. But there are things that we know that will predispose you, right? Put you at risk for developing cancer. So I think the biggest risk factor, even though we don't have as much as other countries, but smoking tobacco is one of the biggest risk factors for developing cancer. Tobacco is known to kill, and I've said this many times on your program, 50% of its users, right? Tobacco is a primary cause of lung cancer, right? It also predisposes to whichever cancer you want to imagine. I wish I had my ugly chart. I have this horrible chart that shows how tobacco, the nicotine in tobacco, affects abnormal cellular growth and result in cancer or cell death or whatever it is. Okay?
Doc, just take a pin quickly, because I just want to touch a little bit on what you just said. It causes lung cancer, yes, but it can also cause cancer in other parts of the body.
Yes. So it puts you at risk.
I think this is a misconception that a lot of people have. They believe that the use of tobacco can only create this thing in your lung and not other parts of your body.
No, that's a misunderstanding, because tobacco is responsible for a lot of the cancers. Use of tobacco. So large bowel, certainly, tongue, throat, breast, okay, stomach. We see it a lot in people who smoke. Brain, right? So tobacco is one of the things that predisposes us for cancers. So first of all, I guess some of our diet, high-fat diets. In Japan, for example, they have a lot of cancer of the esophagus or the gullet, right? Because they drink very hot tea. Very, very hot tea, right? Large bowel cancer, we know, is often related to your diet. High-fat diet, low-fiber diet. Obesity is being seen now, overweight obesity is being seen as a predisposing factor. And hence the reason why the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, and all affiliated bodies are struggling to ensure that our children are not prone to obesity. We have seen, and obesity is being 30% over the weight that is considered normal for you, okay? So we're struggling to make sure that our children don't develop obesity, because what it is going to mean is, apart from them developing things like diabetes and hypertension and stuff, they're also going to develop cancers, right? So a lot of the cancers, obesity is a factor. Breast cancer, cancer of the, I guess, the ovaries, the uterus, the brain, wherever it is, obesity does predispose, right? And we've seen it more and more and more. Exposure to things like radiation. While it may not occur a lot for us, we still don't know, with part of the ozone gone and lots of UV light. And then you know that people, for example, who work in the fields, especially people who do not have melanin protection, who have lighter skin, are at greater risk for developing melanomas. And melanomas are malignant cancers, are malignant tumors, are cancers of the skin, which can kill you. Bob Marley died from head melanoma, believe it or not, right? So any year so there's radon in the houses. There's also a great predisposition. One of the things they saw in relation to chemicals, the women who worked in cleaning, who do janitorial work, seem to develop a higher propensity to cancers because of the cleaning substances that they used. What they inhaled, what absorbed through your skin, if you have broken skin, whatever. So we saw that women who used And I want to go back to tobacco, because it's not because I am smoking. Remember that secondary smoke and tertiary smoke are also factors that can cause people to develop cancer. So you don't have to be the one with a fag in your mouth. You don't have to be the one smoking, but you can be participating just passively, whether you're in the same room and inhaling the exhale smoke, or whether you live in a room in a place where there's a smoke and there's tobacco and nicotine and a smell that penetrates the walls, the carpets and stuff. That is why people ask tenants not to smoke in their houses, because those toxins remain in there and other people inhale, and that's tertiary smoke.
Right. So smoking definitely is when it comes to cancer, it's a no-no.
There's also the problem of a familiar predisposition, in breast cancer and in prostate cancer, that if you have family, especially first degree family, so if your father's had prostate cancer, you need to start looking, or his brothers. And what happens, I have a friend who has had prostate cancer, and he didn't know what his father died of because he was a little boy. Uh-huh. And he developed as a big man, not an old man, in his 50s. He developed prostate cancer, and then extrapolating, he realized that what happened, his father actually had prostate cancer. So we know that there's some cancers that go in family. So if your family, if it's there in your family, large bowel, prostate in particular, breast cancer in the case of women. So those are the factors that can lead to us.
Right. You mentioned...
nowhere, because our favorite sport is alcohol in Grenada, right? Alcohol consumption, and I'm telling people, and you hear me say that all the time again. Yes, have a drink, have two drinks, but don't try to empty the vat. It really damages your body and makes your cells not respond the way they're really supposed to. If your cells get crazy, they don't know what to do. So alcohol is one of the other stuff. In women and young women, we know definitely young women who consume alcohol are at greater risk. And more we see alcohol as a predisposing factor to developing cancers.
Okay, wonderful. Diet is also a major thing here, because of course we all eat. We love to eat the things. I had a friend from St. John who said to me once, she was a lady already, senior citizen. She said, Godfrey, we dig our graves with our teeth.
Yes.
And it took me a while to understand what she meant by that. And, after thinking about it carefully, I realized a lot of the things that we eat are the things that are going to send us to a grave. And it's so important, because we like the heavy salt, we like the grease, the sugars and all of that. And those
things a lot of things that we take as seasonings, as flavorings, that have chemicals that we're not sure might be contributing.
Right. Okay. Very good.
The other thing is environmental toxins that we still at a place where we're trying to figure out what's out in the air. Okay. Radiation in the case of people who are exposed to radiation. And maybe that's the reason why we've had so much fight against 5G. Although I see the Chinese just sent up their rocket with 6G today. So.
6G?
Yes, I saw it on the internet today. So that is why there's been so much concern. And they think that people who live close to cell sites, cellular phone sites, are at greater risk. I don't know what the research in Grenada has shown, but those are things that we're looking at. We're looking at cancers and trying to map location and possible predisposing factors.
And of course, we've started moving in the direction of no plastics, which has been a serious issue as well. How far we can get, I'm not sure.
That, because we have said it, but I don't think we are as adherent as we should to no plastics, because there actually are still plastics being used. People don't go to the store with their bags. They buy those bags that are recyclable, but those things don't they don't really degenerate anyway. Plastics, we know definitely can, we're asked not to use the microwave, for example. We're asked not to put our food in plastics in the microwaves. We're asked not to leave water. If you're going to drink a bottle of water, drink it now and don't leave it in the sun, so that you don't want toxins seeping from, especially if you leave it in your car like we often do. So that toxin can seep from the plastic back into the water and we drink it innocently. So there are a lot of things, and there's still a lot of things we find out, a lot of things we found out.
Right, about cancer. So, Doc, we're going to take our first break now because we have another one to take a little later on. Let's take our first break. When we come back, we will talk a bit more, some more specifics as it relates to the condition. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Just before we go, though, we just want to let you know that we're unable to take telephone calls this evening. Circumstances beyond our control, but you can send your questions via the GBN WhatsApp page, and there's a number on the screen as well. You can send your questions there, and definitely Doc will try and answer them for you. So we take a break, and we'll be back with you in just a moment.
Valley Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vit Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Sonatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and Valley Pharmacy, your health is our business. We care.
Now open, Hills and Valley Medicare Center, your one-stop for medical supplies, massage therapy, physiotherapy, and an in-house physician. At Hills and Valley, your health is our business.
There's nothing good about jail. I don't want to be here.
My father told me that as far as he was concerned, I could stay in the home forever.
Our children deserve a chance for change. Children make mistakes, and child justice reform can help everyone to address these mistakes appropriately. Instead of sending a child to adult prison, let us give them alternative sentencing. We must divert our children from the court system through a holistic and systematic approach to addressing their offense and their road to rehabilitation. Rehabilitation helps child offenders to grow, change, learn from mistakes, accept responsibility, and make better choices. Reintegration of child offenders into the community after rehabilitation benefits the child, the family, and the community with a more productive citizen. Join the movement to give our children a chance for change. This message is brought to you by the USAID OECS Juvenile Justice Reform Project 2, funded by the United States Agency for International Development. For more information, log on to oecs.org/JJRP.
Now we can stay safe while at the same time reducing our budget to maintain a clean and safe environment at our home, school, office, church, or even on the bus. Fortune Foods has gone a long way to source premium products that are at least 30 to 50% less than other brands. That's right, 30 to 50% cheaper than other brands. We have a multi-purpose 80% strength liquid sanitizer for cleaning surfaces that is also safe on hands, as well as 70 to 75% gel sanitizers available in 1 gallon and smaller sizes. Plus, when you buy in bulk, you save even more. Right now, every dollar counts. Be wise. Sanitize with Fortune Foods' range of sanitizing products.
Distributed by Fortune Foods Company Limited, Tempe, St. George's. Telephone 435-2247.
Welcome back, folks. It's Doctor and Call. It is the second 2021 February, of course, as I said earlier, Cancer Awareness Month. And we do have a very active cancer society here in Grenada. Very often we hear about initiatives that they're taking to assist people, who are infected with that disease. And this month being Awareness Month, the deputy chair and her team, they do have quite a schedule. So, Doc, let's go back a bit because you just briefly touched the surface on some of the things that will be happening this month as it relates to the Cancer Society. So let's talk a little bit more about what we can expect.
So first of all, we're doing this in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, the Health Promotion Department. Because they have an even better reach than us as far as primary health goes. So the Cancer Society has two big objectives. One is education, right? And the other one is screening for early detection. Those are the two big tasks, right? So teaching people about what cancer is, how to prevent it, how to recognize it, how to become suspicious, right? And if you're suspicious, what to do, where to go. And like I tell you, when you go to church on Sunday, Father uses the same Bible, but he uses the same Bible every week because we have to keep reminding people of the information, okay? We're not going to read anybody else's book, reading the Bible, but for 2,000 years, we've been using the same book to speak about God. In the same way, we have to keep on reminding people because that's just the nature of the human being. So education is very important, and that's one of the two tasks of the Cancer Society. So this month, like I said, while the 4th is World Cancer Day, and because we have so much challenges, 2 years ago, the Ministry of Health decided we're going to have a Cancer Awareness Month. In the month of February. We start on the 4th, right, with cancer. So we do our kickoff on the 1st. I guess we do some media, some interviews. This is like the preamble. This is to set the pace because we want to reach as far as possible. The Cancer Society really wants to be able, especially now that we have our mobile unit for screening, to go to nook and crannies, places where people don't access care, places where people really need somewhere to come. The people who go to the farm at 6 o'clock in the morning may not have time to go to the clinic, but they come home 10 o'clock. And if there's a screening in their community, it becomes more intimate, one-on-one, and people come to figure out, how can I find out what's going with me? And of course, screening goes with other things, because when you go to get your prostate screen, you do with your pressure and your sugar, probably there's something to do with your sugar, but certainly your pressure, I see some questions about your health. So looking at the whole integral person. So we're going to be doing some screenings. We have some structured screenings because remember, there's still coronavirus that limits how much people you can have around. So there's going to be a screening and a test on Saturday at the bus park, and we hope the men turn up because we really want to focus, like I said earlier, on prostate cancer. We have to decrease the amount of men who come for care late and who end up dying because they turned up so late. All right? And then on Saturday then, in the bus park, we have the unit and a doctor will be doing prostate screen. And I want to implore the people of St. Patrick's, St. Mark's, right? To go up to the bus park and let the doctor look at you and let us check your pressure and stuff. That's Saturday. We're going to be doing some workplaces, at least 2 or 3 workplaces during the month as well. We're going to be doing screening with them, specifically prostate cancer screening with them, which includes physical examination, doing the digital exam, which is very, very important. And I'm sure next week when Dr. Aiken speaks, he will re-emphasize how important it is to do the digital exam. And of course, we hope to be doing the prostate-specific antigen test, the PSA test, which is an indication, right? Because you can have a normal PSA and have cancer. And you actually need to be doing your PSAs sequentially, one this year, next one. You know, I see a young man who is 42 who has 0.7, but he's 42. He shouldn't have any challenges going on in his prostate. He's otherwise healthy. And I said, I will repeat it. The results between 0 and 4. But I don't know why 42 will have 0.7. Even it seems low. So I will see what happens in 6 weeks. If it stays there, I'll wait. If it goes up a little, I'll be concerned. That's just how you do it. You have to do serial tests. So we're going to be doing screening, and there's some other health fairs that we've been invited to participate, to come in and screen as well. We can have some testimonials because we've had people who have been survivors, men who have had family, men who accidentally found out because the doctor insisted that they screen. We have men who went looking to make sure it wasn't there. We have men who've been faithfully doing just their PSAs and discovered that, right? But who understand, who are now advocates for early detection, for going and screening and finding out, who have survived. I know one young man who survived 20 years or more, right, of prostate cancer, and whose lifestyle, he did also lifestyle changes. I don't know whether he had surgery. I can't speak to that. But he did lifestyle changes and he survived and he's been fine. PSA is almost it. So we have different testimonials, some of which will go on our Facebook page. And I want to ask you to go to the Grenada Cancer Society Facebook page, ask questions, you know, tell us what else you want to see so we can give more information. We can figure out what does the people want to hear. Okay, what do individuals want to hear about cancer, especially as it affects us in Grenada? So we have that. I'm trying to remember what else. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff. There's some other stuff happening, but the screenings are kind of the most important. And then we have some radio interviews and some with the people from the Ministry of Health. They'll be going on WeFM on some days and just talking about it, what it is, just, you know, in a very simple way, what it is, how can you screen, what you should worry about, when to go to the doctor, what, you know, those kind of things, and what can happen. And then we have some doctor on calls. Next week, we hope to have Dr. William Bill Aiken, a colleague of mine who heads the urology center at the University of the West Indies in Jamaica. Now, urology is looking at diseases of the male reproductive tract, okay? That is what urology is. Usually mostly a surgical specialty. Dr. Aiken comes with a lot of experience, very dedicated, very knowledgeable, kindest soul I've met for a long time, really a nice guy. And he's going to share with us issues about it. And I guess what you can do is take the Caribbean perspective. You know, we often tend to think that whatever happened only bothering us. You might be surprised to find out that, no, other people around you have similar problems. So I think he brings that kind of regional and even a global perspective to the whole issue of prostate cancer. I mean, he's been involved in research and all the rest. So they have good scientific, sound information to share with us. The following week, we hope that the survivors will share with us what is their own story of diagnosis and why they will encourage other men to screen for disease. And the fourth week, hopefully we can get the caregivers, because they're the nurses who do screening and detection, and they're the nurses who take care in the oncology ward when somebody's already affected. They're the doctors. There's the Cancer Society, okay? There's the health promotion people, the education people. So there are people who can talk to what their roles are in thinking about cancer. And that's kind of it. I mean, of course, we're going to send a message that we hope will be shared in church to remind people, because whenever we have Cancer Awareness Month, the health centers they're prepared to do a little more screening and all the rest of it. So we will urge people to ensure that they go to their clinics or to their private physician and say, look, I need to get my prostate checked, or I need to get my breast, or I need to get my pap smear done, whatever it is, to detect those 3 principal kinds of cancer. Incidentally, prostate is the most commonly occurring cancer in men and breast in women. So we want to make sure that we can take care of it. You may have it, but we want to find it out early so we can treat. See, one of the challenges we have in Grenada is that our treatment facilities are limited. So that is why it's important that you get treated early, you get diagnosed early, right? You may not be able to stop the disease coming on, but you have to make sure that you can be diagnosed early so that the limited treatment we have in Grenada will suffice. Surgical, right? Most people have to have surgery. And of course, chemotherapy, which is either something you get into your vein or in a tablet form, but it means a chemical substance is used in treating. Of course, we encourage, dietary changes and exercise and stuff. But when it becomes a little more advanced and depending on the kind of cancer, some people require radiotherapy. Guess what? We don't have radiotherapy facilities in Grenada. COVID doesn't really allow us to travel very far, very wide, or even very often. Okay, so we're really at a point where we need to make sure that we can diagnose as early as possible for treatment. Okay. So that's basically what's happening for the month.
Right. So aside from that, you did mention that you have a mobile screening unit?
Yes. I
wasn't aware of that, yes. Uh-huh.
You weren't?
No.
I think in 2019, around, was it August? I don't remember. But in the second half of 2019, the Grenada Cancer Society received a mobile unit, a little truck, a little flatbed truck that's attached to a unit that's air conditioned and fully equipped to do whatever kind of exams you want to do. It's just for screening and education purposes. So we can't do mammograms in there yet. We can't do ultrasound because we're not equipped with extra stuff. But that is basically what it is. We hope to go into as far as possible, to go to local communities and make people aware that this is a challenge we have. Let's work on this together and let's make sure that everybody has a chance to live long.
But how much of that has been done so far?
So I want to tell you, the unit was given to us as a gift from Republic Bank, right? Dr. George Lakis, who was is president of the Cancer Society in Trinidad, was very instrumental in mobilizing this and really did a lot of work. And it was paid for by the Republic Bank. And for this, I think Grenada is eternally grateful because it will make services very available to people in the most remote parts of the country. You're asking a question.
Yeah, I was asking you how much of that has been done. That is moving to some of the communities. There are some areas in Grenada that are less fortunate than others. They may not be able to, take a bus to come down to the hospital, do a screening. But with that facility, you can move into those areas. And I'm asking how much of that has been done so far with the unit that you received.
So a lot of the screening so far has been done in St. George's Parish. We've done out of town, but St. George's, because what we have done is to go through working groups, organized working groups like through the unions and stuff. So we've done a prostate screen and a breast cancer screen and a cervical cancer screen through the bank. That was in the beginning. We've done airport. We've done. Then remember last year the place was kind of locked down for most of the time. However, for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we had one screen at the Bruce Street Mall. Again, we had to do the social distancing. But guess what? If we do 15 people breast every week, eventually a lot
of course.
Right. And doing breast screening, for example, we tend to teach, because we do clinical examination of the breast. In doing that, we teach women how to do self-breast examination and tell them next time we come and show us. Just come back and let's make sure that it's good. Or go to your nurse and ask if this is how you do it. We also encourage women every day to just go to your health center and ask your nurse to teach you how to examine your breast. For pap smears and prostate exam, you need specialized care. You need to have a nurse can do a pap smear, but a doctor will do the prostate exam. So, and for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it also was a screening program at Simone at Progress Park with the St. Andrew Development Organization, SADO.
Yes.
Now, the development organizations will become our partners because they know nook and cranny. They know where need is. And while the Ministry of Health will give us support, because we still, that doesn't lack. Like, we don't have enough professionals to do the job. And everybody who works in the Cancer Society currently volunteers. There's one person who assists with administration, but we don't pay them. They pay by another agency, right? So we don't even have the money to pay a staff, because what a director would require to make sure things work, currently we don't. So all our work is done by volunteers. So hopefully there are people out there who have skills like retired nurses and stuff who are willing to help, and we really welcome them to come in to call the Cancer Society and to make sure and to offer their services. 2 hours a week will go a long way.
Right. Now, Doc, many people still believe that cancer is a death sentence. But with screening, so generally people are afraid. They don't want to go to do a screen for fear that the doctor says to them, look, we're seeing something and we think it's cancerous. How can you dispel those thoughts from people's mind and get them to understand the importance of doing screening?
It's going to take some convincing, because, if people have high blood pressure, they're worried. They think they will definitely have a stroke, right? If you twist your ankle, you're thinking you're going to have to cut off your foot. So it's a question of, education, telling people the facts, getting them to understand and getting them to convert, to make decisions on their own to go for screening, because it has to be something that somebody wants to do. So in the case of the men, for example, we ask men to encourage their friends. Make it bar talk. Make it something, those of you who are converts, when you go to football game, when you go watch cricket, when you're out there playing domino and rummy and wapi or whatever you play, right? Make sure that you tell your friends, you encourage them. Make sure it's one of the things you talk about every so often, right? I went to the country one time with one of the nurses, went to the health center, and there were a group of men, and I stopped to talk to them. I'm in the health center next door, they'd never been in there, right? This is 11 o'clock, they've already been up to their mountain and do all the work they have to do from 5:30 to 6 o'clock in the morning. So they've basically done a day's work. And they sit down by the shop and they're drinking. But nobody has gone to the health center. Nobody has gone to find out what it is. We have to reach out to these people and remind them that, here are facilities. There was one guy who had lived abroad. And when I brought up the whole thing about prostate screening, he said, I get my prostate screen every year. And he started talking to the men. So we have to convert one another. We have to support each other and encourage each other, because and reassure more than anything that this is necessary. And that, like you said, it's not necessarily a death sentence unless you leave it too long, right? If you leave it long, it is going to become a death sentence. Other than that, you don't have a problem. Or your problem will be your problem will be, can be taken care of because it's so tiny.
Right, and this is where I was going, because yes, you can tell your friends, look, hey, let's go get a screen done. Let's go check and see, if there's a chance that we may have prostate. All right, so yes, I go, and then yes, there is. So what? And I think what is important is for them to understand that if it's discovered early, you can actually get rid of it and go back to living your perfectly normal life.
Normal life, right? And it's sad because a lot of people say things that they don't know. And I think responsibility is for like the Cancer Society and the health services to really explain to people and remove a lot of the myths, right? Remove a lot of the myths about intervention and care and what is true about the education, and tell us that and tell the truth about education. People ask questions because they're concerned and they may have heard bastardized information out there. So we have to ensure that we give them clear, simple, understandable information in the language that they understand, that they can appreciate, right? And understand that people will have doubts in it, right? So you have to wait until people get beyond that, get to contemplate and then make decision and act on it. It takes a little time. And it takes different time, different communities. If you go to a community where the men are very macho, even if one person went to foreign and come back, right? And tell them, you're all right. Yeah, that's how all the men in foreign stuff. You understand? But once we can find a way to encourage them, and we ask men in particular, because men tend to bond that way. It's something, I don't know that I can do prostate screening. I do it in my office to my patients, but I would rather that my male colleagues are the ones who go there unless a patient asks me specifically to do it, right? So if we had a screening for prostate cancer, I'd rather my male colleagues, because I think men have a little more confidence. It's kind of intimate, and but if a patient said that they rather I do it, I don't have a problem.
Right. Excuse me. I think the issue here is, though, understanding that if perchance you do have it, discovering it can actually give you a new chance. Yeah, a new life, definitely. And that's so very important.
Yes.
So I think a lot of emphasis should be placed on the fact that, look, do your screening, because if you do get it early, one, you know your status, and you know that you can be treated, so you won't have to worry about it going forward.
In September 2019, a friend of mine who had just moved here, we became friends because we had mutual friends in another country where he lived. And he called me one day, no, that's probably was August, sometime. He called me and he says, hey, I want you to take a look at my PSA. I got it done when I went home. So I said, what is it? He said 4.9. So 4.9 is above the normal, right? Already. But he's late 40s. So we know that's really high for him. Because as men get older, their prostate-specific antigen level will go up. Sometimes because the prostate grows and is not cancerous, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You hear about men having stoppage of water, right? Because the prostate is at the base of the penis in the lower part of the abdomen, right at the neck of the bladder. So if it grows, it will grow out, but it will also grow in and squeeze that little passage so urine becomes not as free, okay? So men, as you get older, prostate gets bigger. Plus, we do a lot of sitting down job, right? So sometimes that causes the prostate to get bigger. And again, we smoke and we drink and we do other things that we think may also cause the prostate to become enlarged. And we know that older men, most very old men, will actually have prostate cancer.
Right.
What we're concerned about is the young men, because it's a very slow growing cancer. We are concerned about the younger men who are 40s and 50s, and even 60s, who have a time that can get to their 80s, right? Who obliterate that chance because they choose not to figure out what's going on. So my friend calls and he says, I want to see. So I said, what is your PSA? He says 4.9. I said, okay. What's the PSA the year before? Because remember I told you it should be done in a serial way, right?
Yes.
So it was 3.7. What was it the year before that? Because I know he's somebody who goes to the doctor. He said it was 2 point something. So I said, when I see you, because I know there's something wrong, right? His PSA is not supposed to go up so quickly. Because remember, this is a slow growing tumor. If it's growing, however, it is going to produce that chemical substance, okay? The PSA. And true to form, this patient actually had prostate cancer. But this is somebody who does his job and does his job very well. right? He's very high-level job, has had his surgery, and is fine.
Right.
Checks his PSA to see that if there was any tissue left, if there's any recurrence. Because you also need to be followed up if you're being treated, okay? That's very important. But he is on the ball. So here's somebody who was smart enough to get a prostate check, although he just went and did a test. But you have to have a baseline and to be able to follow that baseline. And I tell you, my patient is 0.7 because he's kind of young. I want to see what it looks like in 6 months. If I see it, I will become quite concerned and take other steps. So we want to make sure that our men feel that they can take that kind of control over their lives because they can actually do so. Right? The sad part of it, the reason why they also do that, we don't have any specialist. Dr. Yearwood does a lot of urology as a surgeon because he really likes that area and has become quite proficient. But we don't have anybody who's dedicated specifically to urology. So there's really no male urological surgeon on the island. So we can't afford to have a plethora, a whole lot of men out there who have prostate and one doctor to take care of them. Okay? And then I said, remember, we don't have radiation, and radiation is one of the mainstay for men who have advanced cancer.
Right.
Right? So we really want our men to try and understand that the only objective is really to give them the life that they deserve, the length, the longevity that we come here, the time we come here to spend, right? Just as how we wear masks to prevent coronavirus, we're going to do prevention by not smoking, not drinking, and doing our prostate checks.
Right. So, Doc, on that note, let's take our final break. And when we come back, we want to talk about the care aspect of it. So stay with us, folks. We're going to be back with you in just a moment. We're talking cancer. It's February, Cancer Awareness Week. And we want everyone to, if you have not been thinking about it, but get that to the forefront of your mind, get screened. Know your status. We'll be back in a moment.
Hills and Valley Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vit Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Sanatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the...
How going on, boy?
Hey, good old things.
Hey, Daisy.
Yeah.
Boy, in line, boy. Your house looking a real good day.
Boy, it's thanks to the hard-working and professional staff at the Housing Authority of Grenada. They handled me real nice. They did my plan, they did the construction, and I didn't even have to worry about a thing. They were there with me every step of the way, supervising the job, asking me about my concerns, giving me feedback as the house took shape. They were there from start to finish, and even put the keys in the palm of my hand. I give them an A++ for customer service.
Oh, it's people from housing bad, boy.
Boy, not bad. Excellent. If you're thinking about constructing your home, why not consult the Housing Authority of Grenada? You could visit them right down in the Sandino complex or give them a call, 440-1015 or 440-1016. Or check out their website, hag473.com. They go handle you. They go jog your blocks, they go draw your plan, they go tote your materials. Hey man, where you going? The Housing Authority of Grenada is your choice for affordable housing and a stress-free construction experience.
A message by the Grenada Distillers Limited.
You want a hand sanitizer to do 3 things: kill germs, be gentle, and to go where you go. You can get all of that in our hand sanitizer. Hard on germs, gentle on hands, affordable. Remember, hand sanitizers contain alcohol. Keep away from heat and flames and avoid contact with eyes. Available at retailers island-wide.
A message by the Grenada Distillers Limited.
Welcome back, folks. It's Doctor and Call, and we're into a final segment. As we told you earlier, we're unable to take telephone calls this evening due to circumstances beyond our control, but you can post questions on the GBN WhatsApp page, and you can also post questions on that number on the screen, 405-1150. Once you place it there, we'll be able to get your questions to Doc so she can give you some answers to whatever you're seeking. All right?
Failing that, feel free to come and get screened.
Right. And also, folks, in addition to that, you can also visit Dr. Nixon. She's at the Bruce Street Mall on the Esplanade. Yeah? Doc, exactly where you are again?
Upstairs, Grand Lake. Second floor.
Right. So everyone know where Grand Lake is. You can visit Doc there. Remember, Doc cannot diagnose you on the phone or via the program. You need to go in, have yourself examined, and I guarantee you're going to get excellent results. Yeah. So you can visit her, and she can, of course, have you screened, whatever, and take good care of you. All right. That's at the Esplanade Mall, second floor, above Grand Lake. So, Doc, yes, we're back. Cancer and all of that. Now, someone is diagnosed, and we're sticking with the prostate. All right. The PSA is above normal, but for some reason, the screening was done late, and so not a lot could have been done for that patient. Let's talk a bit about the care that patient requires during that period.
So you're talking about somebody who is beyond surgery.
Right.
Someone who is very ill. So prostate cancer tends to spread to the bones, pelvis, you understand, other parts of the skeleton. And that is not lacking in pain. It is a very, 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 very painful experience. Mm-hmm. Okay. And of course, it can spread to the abdominal organs. So you might have challenging passing stools. It might obstruct your ureters, so your urine doesn't get to your bladder. Means your kidneys can fail, and all the rest of it. Men who have an upper bladder are often recommended for radiation therapy. But remember I said you don't have that here, okay? You'd have to go away. And it's not cheap. And sometimes I don't even want to think that. It means that all we may be able to offer is what we call palliative, keep you comfortable care. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're aiming at. That is certainly not what we're aiming at. We're aiming at finding out early. First of all, making sure that it's not there. Do what you have to do to prevent getting cancer. And if it's there, if you screen every year, you will know that when there's a chance. A lot of men don't want to do the digital exam. The digital exam is the most important part because it helps you to detect when there's abnormality in the structure of the prostate, how it feels. So if you have a prostate that you feel a little lump, like a nodule, like you have like a bag, like a bean bag. Like a bean bag, you make with tamarind seed to throw at one another.
Uh-huh.
If you find that you have that irregular kind of prostate, it may indicate that you have prostate cancer, right? And then you send to do your test, right? Your doctor needs to examine you. So I'm going to ask them, guess what? It's private. And after the first time, realize it's really not that bad. It certainly isn't that bad.
Well, I can tell you, Doc. I know. I've done one, and as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing to it. And when it was done, I was extremely happy to know that I'm in excellent condition.
And above all, that you can actually say, "Yeah, I did it." You conquered that.
Of course, yes, definitely.
How many men though, and have you encourage other men to go? Is that a conversation you keep with your friends? Because it is important that we convince that you guys, the men, convince their male friends and counterparts and colleagues to do theirs. Have you been speaking to the men about it?
Through the program, yes.
Well, that's not good enough.
I agree.
That's one of the things I'd like to encourage all men to start talking about their own health. Start with high blood pressure. Start with how much we drink. Start with smoking. Start with not eating properly. Start with lack of exercise. Start with how am I going to live longer. Start with talk about prostate. It's good to talk about it. Men eventually trust each other a lot more when they can talk about things that would, because what we're doing, what you'll be doing is helping each other to enhance the quality of life that you have. Okay? Those are the conversations that I wish men will have among themselves. I hear what other conversations all they have, but we're not going to talk about that. All right? And it's usually about us.
That's classified.
Oh, that will not be on TV. But the truth is, I do wish that I'm going to challenge our men to start the conversation. You have questions? Call me. Right?
Yes, indeed.
I'm willing to talk. I hope that congregations will speak about cancer and specifically prostate cancer in church. Who have the little health thing, when they have the men's fellowship, whatever it is. I really hope. And we also want young men to be aware. I mean, by the time you're 40, you should have been screened for the first time. Okay, so that's when you want to start screening at 40. I started with a group of men with whom I worked. I had this very large group of younger men. And I started at 38 because that population had a very, very high incidence and prevalence of prostate cancer. So, and those guys, the first year, I would screen these dozens of guys, right, for their thing. I said, look, how old are you, 38? Look, we have all of these cancers. We have a lot of prostate cancer. Let me do a prostate X-ray. Would you let me do? Okay, doc. There was no fight. Right. And the following year, all the other guys, the guys whom I did not see because they were another physician, came to me. We want to have our prostate checked because we don't want to die of prostate cancer. So it's a question of those who are already converts, leading the ones who are not, to understand that it's not about the discomfort, and whatever happens in the office with you and your doctor is private. It to me is as much as doing an abdominal examination. If you had a pain in the testicle, I look at that, I touch and feel and look and see what's going on. In the same way, if I'm going to look at your throat or I'm going to look in your ear, I'm going to listen to your heart. It's just another part of your anatomy. And because of where it is, it makes it so much difficult to treat because it's really deep down in your pelvis at the head of the penis. And it's really difficult to reach, right? So we need to go looking and making sure that it's okay where it is. So we don't have to need palliative care.
So again, as you always say, preventative care. That's the number one.
Yeah.
Right, indeed.
So,
folks, just to remind our listeners and viewers, you can WhatsApp your questions to 405-1150. And of course, we'll be more than happy to try to provide you with answers. Also, you can post your questions on the GBN Facebook page. Just look for Doctor and Call, and you can post your questions there. So the number is on your screen. Again, it's 405-1150 to post your questions. Doc, after you do your
questions for Dr. Aiken when he comes, because he's a male and he has so much clinical experience. I mean, he just has a wealth of clinical experience. I hope our men will ask questions because I'm sure they have questions that they would like to ask a man.
Right, indeed.
And a man who works in that area.
Doc, after let's say you did your first screening, let's say at age 45, and you were fine, your PSA normal. How often after that should you be checking?
See you next year.
Next year?
See you next year, yes. We ask men to do it annually because you want to see how the prostate, how the antigen moves. You want to see the prostate is growing. And preferably go to the same doctor who saw you and should have written his note and say, it was X, Y, Z way. And who would remember once he goes back in and But you really should start at 40. So I don't know where you get 45 from. Don't
No, I just pull
do not
an age.
mislead our public. Gentlemen, it's 40.
40 years old. 40 years.
If you miss 40 by 20 years, it doesn't matter. Still go get checked. I don't care.
So you can make it your birthday gift for your 40th birthday.
That is what. Happy birthday to me.
Right. Mm-hmm. And every year after that,
and every year.
Check and make sure.
Yes.
So if at 40,
pay for the test.
What's the normal PSA again? Just
0 to 4.
0 to 4. Right. So someone comes in to get screened and the PSA is, let's say, 3.
And
it's within normal range there.
Yes.
But
but remember, I would have also examined his prostate.
Right.
So I don't do PSAs alone. I have to examine the patient. That's the gold standard. You examine and you do a prostate antigen. And the men who have been getting screened will tell you they feel safe when they have had the results after having had the exam and go do the PSA test. They feel more confident that they're okay. Because like I tell you, you can have 3 and have cancer.
Right. So, Doc, we have our first question. Caller says, "Good night. What are the signs of prostate cancer?"
So, because the prostate gets enlarged, right? It grows abnormally. So, usually just mechanical problems. You don't pass your urine as free, right? Of course, you have to look at a man's age because it's usually somebody who's over 40, right? So, you might have in early stage, you might have like a stoppage of water. The urine just doesn't come as free. You can have a discomfort down there. In the late stage, you can actually have bleeding, frank bleeding. So you urinate and it's blood.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So those are some of the main things that you would see. And then you have to consider, did my father or any of my brothers, do they have prostate cancer? Has anybody else complained that they've been having this? Maybe we all have not been screened, for this, but if my brothers are having, I need to go see, because you can have an enlarged prostate that is not a cancer. There's a thing called benign prostatic hyperplasia. Benign means non-cancer. Prostatic means of the prostate. Hyperplasia means that everything just bigger.
Right, but why does that happen?
Why does you mean? Oh, it happens because it just happens. It happens just how your belly grows. The belly get bigger as you get older.
Not necessarily.
Yours did. But seriously, it happens. It is that can happen. And you can get medications that can help to decrease the size. The muscles that's how women have fibroids, right? The muscles become very enlarged and it's not cancerous. You can also have infection of the prostate. Men who have had STDs, who have had recurrent urinary tract infections and stuff, can have prostatic infections that can make it enlarge and have similar symptoms like if you had cancer. And can make your PSA elevated too because the tissue is there and very active. So that is why it's important to examine and not just do a PSA, because an infection feels different from a hyperplasia, feels different from a prostate cancer. They feel when you examine, the doctor can discern and say, no, I just think this is probably an infection, or you just have hyperplasia. No, there's some nodules in here. No, I'm not concerned. I don't think this is something to sit and wait on.
Right.
So you come with 3. Let me go back to your question. You come with 3, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're 45, you're 40, 45. I would be a little concerned. I would have examined you. Let's say I'm not too sure. I will look at it in the next 3 months and see where it's going.
Okay.
Your prostate, your PSA, and probably another examination. And I'll refer you. If I see it going up, I will certainly send you off to the surgeon.
Right.
Because then what you do is do a biopsy. Take a little piece of the tissue and look at it under the microscope.
Right. So we understand that with age, it grows slowly, right? But at 45, how likely and how fast you anticipate the growth from 3 to 4, or 3 to, let's say, 4.5?
No, it's not a growth. It's just how it's not the size necessarily. No. It's just the fact that the prostate is very active, so it produces all of this chemical substance called a PSA. Okay. Right? We discern by the PSA test. Okay. So like I said, remember, it's not just cancer is going to make your PSA high. But if it continues to go high, it means that you need to go get an ultrasound, or the doctor needs to, if you have high suspicion for cancer, with cancer, it probably go faster than if it was just an infection or hyperplasia. If you have high suspicion for cancer, the doctor would most likely, the surgeon will most likely want to do a biopsy. Get a piece of tissue and look at it on a microscope to look for those cancer cells. And to determine, because he takes it 9 different places on the prostate. Because the prostate is like a walnut, but it's at the base of the penis, right? And the urethra is like a straw going through the walnut, right? So he goes around this walnut, takes 9 samples to figure out exactly how it is, if he suspects that there's cancer.
Right. Someone is asking, Doc, is it true that drinking stinging nettle root shrinks prostate cancer?
That's funny because somebody was talking about that yesterday. So I'm not versed on natural medicines, but I've heard of that. I've also heard of soursop, right? Being treatment and prophylaxis. So there are natural therapies, but I am not an authority, so I will not say yay or nay.
Okay. So the time has moved on, folks. The 15 minutes onto the hour of 10 o'clock. Just in case you have questions, you can WhatsApp your questions, not call. WhatsApp your questions to 405-1150. We will get them. We've been getting a couple. Or you can post it on the GBN's Facebook page, and we will address the questions for you. But
so
Doc, I
wanted to talk a little about the Cancer Society. You have another question? Do you?
Well, I was coming back to the Cancer Society, because we're getting close to wrap up.
Yes,
so I want to go back to that and then put in perspective what is happening, and so people know what they can expect for the month of February as it relates to cancer awareness.
So the Cancer Society was established in the late 90s. Dr. Stan Friday, I think. Dr. Barry McBarnett, both of blessed memory, and Nurse Mathurin, I think, who's still alive. They were the people who really were the driving force, the pioneers in getting the Cancer Society started. So apart from offering education and screening facilities, we do offer also support to people who are hospitalized. There's counseling for victims of cancer and their families. There's some other support, material, financial. We don't have a lot of money because we really depend on fundraising, and we depend on donations in order to be able to have money to run. But we try to help families as much as possible. But specifically offering counseling and support and direction for for people who have had cancer. We know people in other territories. We have other cancer societies that we can and want ask. We collaborate with them on different issues. So we're not just doing screening, so we try to make it as integrated as possible.
Wonderful. And so we have the 9th, we'll have Dr. Aiken. That's his name, yes? He will be on. The following week, we hope to have a couple survivors on the program with us to speak of the experience and, how it helped them, doing their screening early and being able to leave normal with the thing, or in some cases get rid of it. And of course, I know you having some health fairs around the country with the screening and so. And I'm hoping that we can actually be able to get a bit of those things so we can share with people on the program. Hopefully, if that's possible, we'd love to do that. So we're looking forward to a very informative month of February as it relates to cancer awareness, a lot of information. And at the end, we want to be able to get more people, more men, more of us to understand the importance of going to get screened, know where you are, and get a new chance at life. Because prostate is not a death sentence.
No, it's
correct,
not.
Doc?
You're very right. And we want to make sure that it's not a threat either, by making sure that we go early and understand, live proper lifestyle and screening early. The other thing is, I want people to know that after February, that's not the end of it. Okay? February is just the catalyst, because the Cancer Society and the Ministry of Health, of course, our duties are continued throughout the year. Hopefully, we'll be able to attend to many more people in the community, work with different community groups in order to be able to offer screening services and education.
Wonderful, wonderful indeed. And just in closing, we mentioned earlier, of course, there are many different types of cancer. And it doesn't mean because the focus for this month is on prostate that our women should not get screened and our men should not get screened for other types of cancers. Go get screened. You never know, there might just be some little thing, as our old folks would say, festering somewhere. And you want to be able to catch that there, nip it in the bud, as we would say, before it gets out of hand. It is so important. Sometimes we don't understand how wonderful life is when we are at a point when we start feeling that we're going to lose it. So let's do what we're supposed to do. That's prevent. Get the screening done, check your doctors. And just as an aside, it's important to do your medical checks. Go check your hypertension, go check your blood glucose levels, check for this, check for that. It's your health, the most important thing. So that's very, very important. So, Doc, let me give you the final words before we wrap. Anything you want to say in closing before we go?
So Cancer Awareness Month is a time for us to take stock. Take stock of how we're going to preserve our lives. And to use all the facilities and all the partners that we have to ensure that we can do that. One of the things I always tell patients is when you go to the doctor, make sure your doctor do the things that you need to do. Because some of us shortchange, or we're so busy because we have busy practices, we might forget to do things. But don't be afraid to ask questions, especially about cancer. Don't be afraid, especially if you have a family history. There's somebody close to you, very close, your mother, your father, your auntie, somebody really close that has had, especially prostate cancer, the men. Make sure that you ask a doctor to give you an opportunity to make sure that you don't have it. Screen is to look to make sure that it's not there. Draw the curtain and make sure there's nothing in there. That is what screening is about. We want to encourage you to engage with the Cancer Society. If you already have had cancer, or the Cancer Society is open every day from 8 to 4. And we up at Knox House, which is right by on the way to the hospital. You know that road on the way to the hospital?
Yes.
Do you know the name of that road?
Granatang Road?
On Granatang Road, right near to Knox House, which belongs to the Presbyterian community. The Cancer Society is there. And it's listed. I'm sorry, I don't remember the number. Go to our Facebook page, ask questions, say what you'd like to see, because we really want to make sure that you have the power to make the correct determination for your own health.
Right, Doc, just before we go, 2 quick questions came in. The first one, Doctor, Doc, when you bleed through the urine, where is the blood coming from with regards to prostate?
Right from the prostate gland. it can be coming from. Because if you have, it's like if you have if you have a sore, that's an ulcer. Sometimes it bleeds, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? It can bleed. And so sometimes it comes from the prostate. And sometimes if it bleeds into the bladder, and when there's sufficient, it will come out, and that will probably be clotting. But if you have bright red blood that's just streaming out, it's just very likely from the gland itself. Because remember, it's at the base. There's the penis. It's at the base of the penis, and it surrounds the urethra, that thing from which that tube to which urine comes. So it can come directly from the gland, and it means that you're having a serious problem by then.
Right. And the last question, a little out of the topic, but still relevant. Is there a relationship between carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and lung cancer? And if so, the present demand to wear masks, face covering, wouldn't that compromise our lung function and subsequently lead to lung cancer?
So carbon monoxide is usually an odorless gas that is very toxic. If you were inhaling carbon monoxide, you would be unconscious, right? That's what it does. It really obliterates your brain function and you become unconscious. And most people just die. It intoxicates your brain and you die. Carbon dioxide, we breathe out every day. But the truth is, when you breathe it out through the mask, it goes out. I don't think that we're compromising our lung functions. I have done 2 hour lectures with my mask on. I've learned to breathe anew because I'm wearing a mask. And I can promise you that your mask is going to cause you a lot less injury, if it ever does, because I doubt it really does, than the coronavirus can. Can a kind of coronavirus penetrate a mask? Yes, it can. But coronavirus, for the most part, comes on droplets. If your mask is able to detain the droplets, and even if a few viruses get through, the amount that will get through if you're not wearing a mask, right, is negligible. Is much greater. If you're not wearing a mask, what you inhale is much greater and puts you at a greater risk for getting coronavirus infection. So I know people are getting tired of it, but notice we've only had 1 death. And we haven't had any coronavirus when our neighbors have had 1,000 each in the last 2 weeks.
Right. And we're now down to what, 5 positive cases?
I'm sorry?
And we're down to 5 positive cases now, I think it is?
I don't even think we have that much now. But the bottom line is that there's a reason why we have not had a whole lot, right? Masks work. Regardless of all that you hear out there, it works. Because I know that St. Vincent had not had masks as one of their norms. They had not. I saw an ordination on TV and like, you guys don't wear masks? I called the guys and said, you guys wear masks, right? Especially when you have that kind of community spread. They don't know who have it, who don't have it. Everybody moving up and down. They just had elections, and we've seen that countries where they've had elections have had an upsurge. Belize, Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad, St. Lucia had elections? No. St. Vincent, everywhere they've had elections, have had a surge in their level of coronavirus infection. Because we get a little hyped, election fever and everybody, and we hug up and we're very intimate, we breathe in one another's face. If you're not wearing masks, you put yourself at twice the risk. So don't worry about the carbon monoxide because I don't think it's as prevalent. And the carbon dioxide, that's not a big problem for us. Coronavirus is another story. So remember, we will combat coronavirus. And I want to mention also that people who have cancer are at greater risk for developing coronavirus infections. So you want to make sure that you're healthy so that if you come in front, your immune system is kicking so it can get rid of whatever coronavirus. I guess after this, we talk about, long after cancer, we talk about vaccines.
Yes, indeed. Doc, thank you so very much. It was indeed a pleasure again. And I'm looking forward to next program where we have Dr. Aiken, and I think you will be on with him as well. So it's we're really looking forward to that. We're going to have both Dr. Nixon and Dr. Aiken with us, and we're going to have a wonderful program. Dr. Aiken is going to go in depth, deep down into the whole issue of prostate. And of course, Doc will be there to provide me with the support I need to ask Dr. Aiken the questions that he would like to answer so that you can get all the answers that you require.
I hope that our population would ask questions because he is the expert.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Folks, I just want to remind you before we go that tomorrow from 6 we have our constituent program, and that will be followed by Release It at 8. On Thursday, however, we will be having our Week Culture program on Thursday in place of Release It. That is to accommodate the Independence Calypso Monarch competition that will be aired live on GBN television and radio. So remember that, Thursday, Week Culture at 8, and on Friday, our Independence Calypso Monarch competition. Thank you once again, folks. All the best.
Just 10 seconds. I want to extend condolences on behalf of all of us who listen to GBN and watch GBN, to the GBN team. Lost a really valuable member of staff yesterday. Levi, God rest his soul, he's been one of the greatest persons I've worked with on GBN. So my condolences from me and from the rest of the population who look at us and who benefit so greatly from the work that guy has done. God rest his soul, and I know him upstairs taking enough picture.
Oh, yes, indeed. I am trying so hard not to talk about him because I happen to be one of the last persons he spoke to. So it really goes deep for me. But Doc, thanks once again, and do have a good night. All the best, folks. I'll be with you tomorrow from 6 o'clock. All the best. Good evening.